Hey there! Today I want to show you how to make some Rotkraut or Blaukraut, which is red cabbage. It is one of the most amazing sides for all sorts of meats from sausages to venison. Okay, enough chit chat, let's get to it. The ingredients are as following. Red cabbage, obviously. We used a half here, which clocks in at around 850 grams. 2 medium-sized onions, or a tiny half and a large one, as we did. 1 ripe, juicy orange with an untreated peel. 1 small potato, or a piece of a larger one. 1 apple. This is a Belle de Boskop, which is good for cooking. This one has lived to a ripe old age and began to get a bit soft, but that's alright for cooking. Then some red wine vinegar. Also sugar. You'll need more than what is shown here. You have to add it to taste later on. Also, traditionally, some lard. Or, vegetable shortening. Maybe clarified butter, if that's more your thing. Okay then, on to the most important part, the spices. Cinnamon bark, cloves and juniper berries. Allspice and white pepper. Or black pepper is fine too. 1 large bay leaf or leftover small ones. I'll write the amounts for the ingredients in the description. Okay, now with that out of the way, we can start the prep work. I recommend to wear some gloves while handling the cabbage as it stains quite a bit. Not as bad as beetroot or curcuma, but just so you know. Cut the cabbage into quarters and then into very fine stripes, as fine as you can. There are cabbage slicers, but who has that, right? Okay, while my wife gets that done, let's do a little chemistry experiment. Red cabbage is either called Rotkraut or Blaukraut here. So red or blue cabbage. That is because this cabbage is a natural pH indicator. On the left side, I've got some diluted methansulfonic acid, some diluted sodium hydroxide, also known as lye or caustic soda. If I add the cabbage to the acid, it starts turning more reddish, while when I add it to the lye, it turns a deep bluish green. In nature, cabbage indicates the pH of the soil it grows in. Pretty cool, right? Okay, my wife should be done by now, so let's get back to her. We'll add the cabbage to a large metal bowl. Next, the apple needs to be cored, but not peeled, and cut into cubes. Add it to the sliced cabbage. Then we'll add the zest of the orange to it. We pretty much used all of the orange's zest. Next, the orange gets juiced, and I wanted to try out my camera's super slow motion feature, but it turned out less exciting as I had hoped. So let's add the orange juice, the red wine vinegar, the sugar and the salt. We added the red wine at this point too, but you could add it while cooking later to deglaze. Your call. Then it's mashing time. You really have to get in there, and if you have some pent-up aggressions, now is the time to shine. Beat that cabbage. Well, within reason. You'll start noticing the cabbage becoming more malleable and losing some juice. After a couple of minutes, it should be nice and soft. Now we'll prepare the spices. I've got one of those tea eggs, more like a tea cylinder. You can also use a strong tea bag. Add all the spices and put it into the juices at the bottom of the bowl. Now let the cabbage rest for about an hour. Meanwhile, we made some mashed potatoes. Nothing special. I'll just show this for continuity's sake and for those who want to follow along. We peeled and cut the potatoes into cubes, cooked them until very soft, let them sit for a moment afterwards, mixed milk and cream, heated it up and added some butter and seasoned with nutmeg, salt and maybe with pepper. You know the usual. Mash them and stir the milk mixture in until you have a soft mixture with a consistency you like. Okay, back to the Rotkraut. Chop the onion into fine stripes and add the lard or your fat of choice to the pot and heat it to a highish heat. Give the onions some love and saute them for a moment. Then add the cabbages, but not all the juice at the bottom, and braise as well for about 10 to 15 minutes. You'll have to constantly stir so it doesn't burn and reduce the temperature if it gets too hot. Then add the rest of the juices back and also the spice tea bag or tea egg, whatever you used. Use a grater to grate the potato in there. The finer the better. This will add some starch to thicken the sauce. You can also add some starchy water at the end to get a similar effect. Then cover with a lid. Set the temperature to medium. Now this has to stew for at least another 15 minutes. Depending on how finely you've cut your cabbage. Stir occasionally and watch the liquids. You might need to add some water or wine if it gets too dry. Also try it for doneness once in a while. When you feel like it's almost done, remove the spices and give it a final season with sugar, salt and pepper. Great, now it's ready to eat. But if I were you, I'd prepare the cabbage the day before and let it rest overnight. This will give it some time to marinate and pick up even more flavor. Then just heat it up again and use. I mean, either way is perfectly fine. Just a little side note. Okay, we had bought some fresh bratwurst, which I pan-fried in some butter, and for a sauce I deglazed the pan afterwards with some red wine and beef stock. Let it reduce some, add cream and reduced even more. You can also stir in some very cold butter to make a beurre monté, you know, instead of the cream. But we had some leftover, so we used the cream. Don't heat too high after adding the cream or the fat starts to separate when the cream breaks down. Okay, there you have it. A very German meal. Give it a try sometime and see if you like it. I hope you enjoyed this, and maybe I'll see you next time if you want to hear another tale.